Test, test, test. One, two, three. I think this is live. Hey, how's it going? Lee Hayward here with the Total Fitness Bodybuilding video chat for Friday, September the 30th. September is coming to an end, but our video chat is just getting started. So, welcome to the video chat. And if you're tuning into this live right now, please let me know. Let me know in the comment section there if you can hear me, if you can see me, if this is coming through loud and clear. I'm testing a new format. Now, we used this format last week. It's a different stream format, and it seems to be working fine on my end, but I always want to just double check that it is working fine on your end as well. So if it is, give me a thumbs up, loud and clear, something along those lines. We got Dan joining in, Lee joining in, Baby Boomer Fitness, good stuff, loud and clear. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm running solo this week. Last week, I had my top coaching student and Jeff Samatero, who was a co-host. So if you tuned in last week, you may recall Jeff was joining us, which was pretty cool. I enjoyed that. He's unable to make it this week, but hopefully he'll be a regular on our video chats in the future. So we're going to probably manipulate the time for future video chats to make it convenient so that he can actually join in. Because I like having that co-host video chat format because, I mean, he adds some of his own insights and it just helps to make more of a well-rounded discussion, if you will. It's not just me being the solo talking head on the video chat. It's nice to have somebody to share ideas and just give you a different perspective on things. So hopefully Jeff will be joining us for next week. But for now, this week, it's me. Solo. But hopefully that's still good. I mean, hey, I've been doing it solo for years, right? So, I mean, hey, it's still good. All right, so we have several people joining in live, which is awesome. And the way these video chats work is I'm going to be hanging out here for the next hour, answering questions and topics of discussion that you have related to fitness and nutrition. So any specific challenges you have with your workouts or your nutrition plan, please feel free to post those into the chat window. If you have any challenges when it comes to building muscle, losing fat, questions about supplementation or whatever, again, feel free to post those. And I'll do the best that I can to help you out over the course of our chat today. Now, some people have sent in questions in advance, which is always cool. And that's something that I do encourage you to do. If you have a specific question, you're going to be tuning in, or maybe you don't tune in. Maybe you catch the replay, right? Because we have an international audience and not everybody's able to tune into these live streams, but a lot of people do watch the replays afterwards. So if that is you watching the replay, you can submit questions in advance. And how I recommend doing that is the easiest way is to message me through Facebook, right? I'm quite active over there. You can friend request me and actually have my Facebook information, my link down in the description of this video. So if you're not already done so, friend me up over on Facebook. We can chat through there. And we're actually streaming a dual stream today. So this is streaming both through Facebook as well as YouTube. So that's part of the reason for the new video format that I'm using here. It allows me to do a double stream because normally I only do these video chats through YouTube. That's what I've been doing for years. But now we're streaming both through the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook page as well as the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel. So I see we've got some people joining in from both Facebook as well as YouTube, which is really cool. Getting more of a broader audience here. All right, so let me just pop open my the first question that came through here. Just give me a moment here. I'm going to dig this one up. This one was sent in to me from shoot, I have the question saved, but I don't have his name. Just a second. Now I got to open up my Facebook page to see the name. I wrote the question down because he messaged me through Facebook, but I did not. I didn't save his name. I want to give him the full credit here. If I'm going to address someone's question, I'm going to address it by name. Let's see. Who was this? This one was from, just give me a moment here, Amir. Amir was the one who asked this question. All right, good stuff. All right, so let me just pop this open here now. Because there's a few little cool features we got with this streaming system. I can share screen and questions and all that cool stuff. So that's why I'm still getting used to new technology, right? You can teach an old dog new tricks, or at least I hope you can. Let's see. Share screen, share windows, share screen, share tab. Where's it to? There we are. Let's see. The sharing. Hopefully that is sharing and you can see that it is working. There. Let me try playing around with the different formats. All right. I think that works. Or this one. Yeah. Whatever. I'm playing around with it. Give me a moment here to play around with all these different settings here. I think this is the easiest one. There we go. All right. So the question from Amir, he says he started training at the gym in 2010 to 2019 without doing any squats or deadlifts. And his waist was very small and his back was wide. From 2019 until now, he started doing more squats and deadlifts, and he noticed that his waist is getting wider. I do not know why, and for a while, I watched a video. I don't know why, and for a while. And he says, I watched a video of Hani Rambod saying that he warns physique competitors against squatting and deadlifting because it makes the midsection and the obliques expand. And this makes the midsection wider. How do I shrink my waist? Can this be fixed? All right. So I was chatting back and forth with Amir, and he said that he is currently in preparation for a physique competition. And he sent me some pictures, and I got to say, he's in really good shape. He's very lean, very muscular. And even though he's saying his waist is wider, he still has a very narrow waist, right? Don't get me wrong. But there is a little bit of truth to this. Squats and deadlifts may thicken the waist to a degree, but there's another thing that we need to consider as well is as you get older, your waist and torso tends to thicken up just naturally. I mean, a lot of times for most people, it's just due to gaining body fat, but even as your torso tends to get thicker as you get older, even if you keep your body fat fairly low. And I'm a prime example of this. My waist has gotten thicker over the years as I've gotten older. My torso has gotten bigger. And even when I diet down and get super lean, I still have a thicker waist than I did when I was younger. And that's just part of how the body works. I mean, as you get older, a lot of times everything just thickens up throughout the midsection. So it could be partially from the training. It could be partially from simply getting older, right? So, I mean, the time range you're talking about here is you started working out 12 years ago, right? So over the last 12 years, a lot has changed. A lot has changed with your body, as long as, not only with muscle development and workout performance and all that stuff, but you've aged and matured and your body's changed. So that could be part of the reason as well. Now, with that being said, squats and deadlifts, that's the thing you're getting at here. And you're referencing Hani Rambod mentioned in one of his videos. And for those of you who don't know who Hani Rambod is, he's like an elite level bodybuilding coach. And when I say bodybuilding coach, I mean training top level professional bodybuilders. Like he's trained former Mr. Olympias, top level pro bodybuilders. So, elite level, right? People at the top of their game. And you need to look at the bigger picture, because for a lot of folks, when it comes to training, are you elite level or are you simply a recreational athlete? And you got to look at what is it you're ultimately training for, and look at the pros and cons of everything. Because I personally like squats and deadlifts if you're physically able to do those exercises. And I think they're really good exercises for athletic performance, for building strength, building muscle, and they certainly do wonders. But there is that chance that it will thicken the waist, because when you're doing squats, you got a load of barbell on your back. Your core has to come into play to stabilize and balance that weight. So the muscles around your core will become engaged, and they will hypertrophy. They'll grow. They'll get bigger and stronger in order to support that weight. That's why everybody who's a big squatter usually has a thick, strong midsection in order to support that weight on their back. Same with deadlifts. I mean, it's going to heavily work the spinal erectors, the obliques, all the stabilizer muscles around your core, and it's going to help to thicken those areas up. Now, from a practical point of view, this is actually good because you're thickening and strengthening all those muscles and you're building a stronger core. But from a pure physique competitor who just wants to have the aesthetics of super narrow, wasp thin waist, V taper, wide shoulders, it may not be as advantageous. So if your main priority is physique competition and doing your absolute best and hopefully even taking it to high levels, like if you honestly think you got a shot at becoming a top level physique competitor and going somewhere with it, then you may want to modify your training accordingly. From a recreational competitor point of view, I wouldn't worry about it. As long as you're keeping your body fat in check and you're getting super lean for competition, your waist is going to be small as it's going to be from just lean and not having excess body fat. And if you do gain some size there, it's muscle size that you're gaining. So I'm not trying to tell you what to do or what not to do. I'm trying to explain the bigger picture so that you can make up your own mind on this. Like, I've been a recreational bodybuilder for years. Like, I started competing back in 1995, competed regularly up until 2011, took a hiatus for 10 years, and then made a comeback last year in 2021, did the Masters over 40 division in classic physique, which has a height weight cutoff. It's not like open bodybuilding where there is no height weight cutoff, but the training is pretty much the same. During all my years of contest prep, I included squats and deadlifts as part of my routine. And yeah, I'm sure it helped to thicken up my waist to a degree, but overall, I think it also helped to add a lot of mass to my legs and back and just overall muscle maturity all around. So I think it was a good trade-off, if you will, and I wouldn't change it or avoid those exercises personally. But for someone who is, think they have a shot at really going far with physique and wants to maintain that super aesthetic physique, you may want to adjust your training accordingly and do other exercises for the legs and the back that will stimulate hypertrophy in the areas that you want it and minimize it in the areas that you don't, meaning the waistline. And it's a very fine balance. And even when you do manipulate your training, you have to realize your waist is going to get thicker just with age anyway. So the fact that your waist is getting thicker, it may not be so much due to the squats and deadlifts. It may be just the fact that you're getting older and your body is changing. So there's a lot of stuff we have to really look into here. Another thing MR mentioned as well is he's a kung fu fighter. I don't know if he means like he trains, he's competitive, or he's an instructor or whatever, but he mentioned he trains in kung fu as well. And squats and deadlifts, great functional exercises to build that overall strength, which will certainly help with martial arts. And you got to look at it from that perspective as well. So it may actually be advantageous to incorporate them instead of avoiding them. So again, I'm not trying to give you a direct answer. I'm trying to just explain what's going on here so that you can make your own decision. But hopefully that helps to shed some light on it. As far as shrinking your waist from what it is right now, there's really nothing you can do to shrink your waist other than lose body fat. Like if you've built up some muscle around your obliques and core, it's hard to lose that muscle unless you like stop training entirely. Because even if you don't do direct work for those areas, the side effect of the training that you're doing in general, you're going to build up, you're going to maintain that muscle. It's hard to lose muscle. It is. I know a lot of people don't realize it, and they are always like, oh, I don't want to do cardio because I'm afraid I'll lose muscle, or oh my God, if I skip a meal, I'm going to lose muscle, or whatever. But like once you've got a certain level of muscle maturity, it's hard to lose muscle, right? It's assuming you don't get sick and you just quit training entirely. Like as long as you're consistent, you're going to maintain a lot of your muscle mass, right? So I mean, there's really not much you can do to shrink your waist other than just lose the body fat around it. And again, Armar sent me some pictures and he's really lean as it is right now. So there's not a lot of excess fat. It's not like he got rolls of love handles there that's sticking up his waist. He's super lean as it is. So there's really not much more you can do. But like I say, to prevent it from getting bigger in the future, you may want to manipulate your training accordingly. But anyway, hopefully that helps to shed some light onto your question. All right, let's see. All right, change that around. Hopefully that works. Okay, another question that came through earlier as well. I'm going to address this one before I start answering questions that are coming through from our group, our people who are tuning in live right now. And again, for those of you who are tuning in live, if you do have any questions or topics, feel free to type them into the chat window, and I will do my best to get around to them as soon as possible. Let's see. Got a question come through here from Orville saying he doesn't see the video on Facebook, just YouTube. The video's coming through on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook page. So if you haven't liked the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook page, it'll just be on YouTube. But it's the same video regardless. So if you're watching on YouTube, it's the same video as it would be on Facebook. That just came through from Orville. Another question here. This one's from Khalid, and he says, I've got a question about how many times should you train muscles like chest? Should you train it once or twice a week? I feel that the muscle is small and I want to get it big. If you have a weaker muscle group, you can prioritize that muscle group. All right. So first off, you got to look at the bigger picture here. As long as you're training consistently, once a week, twice a week, whatever, like consistency is the most important thing. Once you have the consistency in place, and when I say consistency, I don't mean just consistency with the workouts, but consistency with the training, the nutrition, the lifestyle, all that stuff. Once you have a consistent routine in place and you're making progress with that consistent routine, then we can start manipulating the variables to optimize your progress, right? You can't optimize what's not standardized. So a lot of times I'm getting questions from people asking, like, what's the best this, what's the best that, etc., when they're not even consistent with following the basics. So you got to lay the foundation first. Once you have that done, then we can focus on optimizing. Again, you can't optimize what's not standardized. But in the case of Khalid, he's been training for years. He's been a personal coaching student of mine, so I've worked with him on and off for years now. So in his case, he is very consistent with his workouts, and he wants to prioritize the chest. And for that, I would recommend increasing the frequency. Increasing the frequency for stubborn body parts is one of the best ways to prioritize that area. And I've utilized this strategy myself for body parts that I've had issues with. And in my case, my stubborn body parts, arms and shoulders, are always been my stubborn body parts. Chest has responded fairly well for me. Legs, back, like those areas, they tend to respond well. Arms and shoulders are just like genetically weaker areas for me, and I've had to prioritize those. And how I've done so is by increasing the frequency of those workouts. So what I would recommend is your stronger body parts, the ones that you feel are developing well, cut that back to training once a week. And then your stubborn body part, i.e., in your case, the chest, train that twice a week. And what this is going to do is basically it'll put the stronger body parts more on a maintenance slow gain program by training them once a week. And then you dedicate the majority of your recovery abilities to this weaker body part and train that twice a week. So that's what you want to do. You want to prioritize and double up on the training for the stronger muscle groups while putting the other body parts on maintenance mode. And do that for at least 6 weeks, right? To really give it a good, honest effort to let it focus on stimulating that stubborn area. And I think you should see some good progress. And a good tip to do as well is to change up the workouts. So different exercises or different set and rep patterns. Like one workout could be like a heavy power training type of workout. Another one could be a higher volume, more hypertrophy style workout. And this will work the complete muscle. So you're getting the fast twitch, strength and power building. And then you're also getting more of that hypertrophy, high volume muscle stimulation. And I find that the combination of power as well as the hypertrophy is a great way to really maximize muscle growth in a stubborn area. And that's something that I did myself when I was prioritizing stubborn body parts. Basically a heavy workout and a light workout, right? To simplify it into layman's terms for you. But that would be a great strategy for sure. All right. So I think those were the only questions that came through in advance. I'm just going to double check. Pretty sure. Yep, it was. Okay, so I'm going to just close that out for us there now. And move on to our live video stream here. So let's just jump right into the stream. We have Dan is joining in. We have Lee Dunnigan joining in. Baby Boomer Fitness. Khalid. Bradley. How am I doing? I'm doing great. Hopefully you're doing good as well. And I already answered Khalid's question, so we're moving on. John, Eagle Eye John, how much does 5 grams of creatine increase muscle size? All right, let me just explain how creatine works. All right, creatine, it helps to pull water into the muscle cells, water and nutrients, and has a cell volumizing effect. Now, how much is going to depend on a lot of different variables. I mean, how much muscle you have. I mean, someone who has more muscle on their frame can get more benefit from it because there's more cells to volumize, if you will. But bottom line, what creatine does, it helps to increase your body's natural strength, the ATP, adenosine triphosphate. It helps to increase and recycle that energy system. And we have 3 basic energy systems in our body. We've got the ATP, which is that explosive, intense exercise or intense energy system. So that's what you use when you lift heavy weights, when you do an all-out heavy set, when you run a sprint, when you something short-term and explosive. The ATP energy system is maximum effort for very short duration. And then we have the lactic acid energy system, which is more of the higher volume muscular endurance. So that's when you're doing higher repetitions. Like it's when you're doing some high intensity cardio, the high intensity interval where you get that burn, that lactic acid buildup. That's the lactic acid energy system. So it's not as intense or has a high peak of power output as the ATP energy system, but it has a much longer duration. Like this is something that could last for several minutes. Then we have the aerobic energy system, and this is your cardio energy system. This is something that can last for literally hours. You like, for example, to put things in perspective, ATP is like your heavy, all-out heavy set of you're testing your 1 rep max bench in the gym. That's pure ATP. Lactic acid, that's like a boxer doing a 3-minute round in the ring. Right? Like they're working hard, but they're gassed after that 3 minutes and they need a break. Then your aerobic, that's the long duration cardio. That's going for a long bike ride. That's going for a long, walk or, steady state cardio at the gym. So think of it like a triangle, right? You got 3 areas, 3 energy systems. Creatine helps to increase that ATP, that explosive high intensity energy system. So that's where you get the best bang for your buck. And that's where creatine can help your athletic performance, is increases that. As far as muscle size increase, that's very individual. And I've seen everything from people gaining, 5 to 10 pounds of lean mass to not noticing any size increase. And it really depends on the individual. It depends on how much natural creatine you're consuming in your diet as it is. Generally speaking, people who consume a mixed diet, and when I say mixed diet, meaning animal protein as well as plant-based foods, they tend to have higher natural levels of creatine in their system because animal proteins provide creatine in small amounts. Like supplementation, we usually look at 5 gram servings. If you're consuming animal protein on a regular basis, you're getting 1 to 2 grams of creatine per day through that, just through animal sources. So you're not totally depleted. Vegetarians and vegans, they tend to have the lowest levels of creatine because they're not getting the natural sources. So if a vegetarian or a vegan starts supplementing with creatine, they'll probably notice the biggest bang for their buck from the creatine because their body is naturally so low in it. Whereas someone who's consuming a mixed diet is probably not going to see as big of a jump or a big of a gain from creatine supplementation. But it still helps just to take that creatine supplementation on a regular basis to make sure that you're maximizing the creatine in your system, maximizing that ATP energy system. and also to help to reap the benefits. And it's not just athletic performance. Like there's a lot of other health benefits that come along with creatine as well, from mental and cognitive functions. It's been shown to help improve, people who have depression and things like this. I mean, there's a whole mental side to creatine supplementation as well as the physical side. So from a practical point of view, even people who don't exercise should still supplement with creatine, especially as you get older, right? Like this could have a huge impact for elderly people and people who are at risk of mental and cognitive issues as they get older, right? Like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and these type of things. Creatine can help to slow down the progression of some of those diseases and illnesses. So it has a good overall health benefit, not just an athletic performance benefit. So I'm a big advocate of regular creatine supplementation. And what I do personally is I just take 5 grams of creatine once a day. And I take it just like you take my vitamins. Like you take your multivitamin once a day, I take my creatine once a day. And that's it. And the thing with creatine is it doesn't matter when you take it, as long as you take it consistently. As long as you have a steady supply of creatine in your system, it's going to do what it needs to do. It's not a supplement that has to be timed. Like it's not like a pre-workout or a caffeine or a stimulant where you got to take it at a certain time and the thing is going to like kick in and then wear off. Like as long as you maintain adequate creatine levels in your system, it's going to do its job. Right? Like for example, it doesn't make sense to take a pre-workout after your workout because you don't want the caffeine to kick in when you're home trying to relax after the gym session is done. No, you take it before the workout so that the caffeine and you get the energy boost while you're actually in the gym training, right? That's something that needs to be timed. Creatine's not like that. Creatine works around the clock as long as you have adequate stores in your system, right? So, I mean, it's not something that needs to be timed. You can take it morning, noon, or night, and it's still going to do the same thing as long as you take it consistently. So it's such a simple supplement, like 5 grams a day, every day, like boom, that's it. Now, if you're really big, like someone who's 250, 300 pounds, maybe you want to have a little more than that. Maybe you want to go like 8 to 10 grams a day. For someone who's really small, like you're less than 150 pounds, maybe you can get away with like 3 grams a day. But, the general ballpark rule for most people and then most creatine scoops are 5 gram scoops. Just 5 grams a day consistently will do the trick, and you don't need to overthink it any more than that. So hopefully that clarifies the question about creatine. And as far as how much size you gain from it, it really depends on the individual. I personally don't gain anything when I take creatine. Like if I take a break from it and then I go back on it again, I don't really see my weight fluctuate at all. Like prime example, when I travel, I don't take creatine with me, right? I don't want to be going across the border with white powder on my person, right? Just in case you get checked by customs or something. I don't want to have any red flags like, hey, what are you carrying this white powder for, right? Like I don't want to have anything that's going to raise red flags. So if I travel, like supplements like creatine and all that, like I don't bother with it. I just, hey, when I get back home again, I'll start taking it. And when I take a break from it and then come back onto it again, I really don't notice any difference. And I think it's probably because I've been taking it so long and I have a base level in my system. I mean, it takes a while for it to get depleted. And by the time I deplete it and put it back in, it's such a minuscule effect. I really don't notice a big difference. And I think it's because I'm taking it consistently. But for people who've never taken it before, that's when you'll get the biggest hit from it, if you will, the biggest bang for your buck. And I remember when I first started taking creatine back in the mid 90s, when it first came out, when I first started it, I did notice it. I mean, it noticeable strength increase, noticeable muscle fullness, better muscle pumps. I could really tell the difference. But now that I've been taking it for years, I really don't. It's one of those things that's kind of like, that's my new norm now. So I really don't see any more size increase. Like basically what I'm doing is just taking it to maintain what I currently have. Just the same as you take your vitamins to maintain optimal levels of vitamins in your system, I take creatine to maintain optimal levels of creatine. It's not building up continuously over time. All right, moving on. Bradley, how do you fix forearm pain? Link to hand pain. It really depends what's going on there, Bradley. I mean, it could be tendonitis. If you have hand pain, it could be something related to carpal tunnel syndrome. It could be related to maybe you've just pulled or strained some tendons and ligaments in your forearms and hands. Like, it really depends on what's going on there. Um, I mean, is this something that's been lingering on for months, or is this something that just occurred recently? Because if it's something that just occurred recently, I mean, chances are you probably strained or pulled or something, and it just needs time to rest and recover. But it really, how you would fix it depends on what it is that you've actually done. The best advice I would give on this is go see a physiotherapist who's used to working with athletes and get some feedback. Like, someone who can see you in person and address your situation can help. And this is something that I had to do recently, and I'm going through it right now, actually. One thing that I suffer from is carpal tunnel syndrome. And if you're not familiar with what carpal tunnel syndrome is, which you probably are because it's pretty popular, pretty common, just Google search carpal tunnel syndrome. But this is something that I've been suffering from for years. I've been managing it with stretching, but it's kind of getting to the point now where stretching's not cutting it anymore, and it's getting progressively worse and worse. So I'm currently seeing a specialist now, and more or less on a waiting list now to get surgery to get it fixed through a surgical operation to release the carpal tunnel. But in the meantime, I've been seeing a chiropractor slash physio, and he's been doing work on my neck and also deep tissue massage work to kind of release the nerves and stuff like that. And it's helping to manage it. And this is something that you should look into, because when you have pain in your hands and in your forearms and everything else, sometimes it's not even directly linked to the hands and the forearms. Like, it could be a nerve impingement in the neck. And this is something that's actually quite common, is if you impinge a nerve in your neck, all the nerves run down through in your body, run down through the neck. So, like, sometimes you'll get run down through your arms and through your hands and everything else. And that could be triggering pain in the limbs and the extremities, but it could be starting from the neck. And this is where the chiropractor has actually helped me a lot, when he does the neck alignment and adjustments and then works through the nerves and the deep tissue massage right down through the shoulders and arms and everywhere. It helps to release that tension and helps to floss the nerve and just increase circulation. So that's really helped me a lot, and something that you might want to look into. I mean, at least go get it checked out. Someone who can see you in person and address what the issue is. And because it's hard for me to try to address it here through a YouTube comment, or in your case, a Facebook comment, because you're tuning in through Facebook. We got AJ joining in. Hey, AJ. We have Rob's joining in, or C Rob. What's a good way to cleanse before going into weight loss? I took your advice and have started the Son and Dad plan on your page. I'm not a big fan of these cleanse programs, and you don't need to cleanse. Like, cleanse is and detoxes and all this kind of stuff. The best way to do a cleanse or a detox is to avoid toxifying yourself to begin with. So minimizing or eliminating alcohol consumption. That's a huge one. Alcohol is one of the biggest toxins that people consume, right? So if you're drinking alcohol, avoid it, or at least minimize it. That's a big one. And that's going to aid with weight loss as well. Like, one of the biggest hindrances to weight loss or fat loss is alcohol consumption. Because when you consume alcohol, it literally suppresses your body's ability to burn fat. And it's not just the calories. Like, a lot of people think, well, as long as I keep my calories in check, I'm okay. But when you consume alcohol, that takes priority over everything else. So when there's alcohol in your system, your body cannot metabolize body fat. It's not even going to metabolize the food you eat until that alcohol gets broken down to zero blood alcohol, right? When there's no alcohol in your system, then your body's going to go back to burning food and fat and everything else like it normally does. But when there's alcohol in your system, fat burning and digestion and everything else gets put on hold until that alcohol gets metabolized. So that's a big way to detox or cleanse. We'll cut that out. Another big one is just to consume more fruits and vegetables in your diet, to drink more water, and just to live a healthier lifestyle. Like, don't go looking for all these cleanse products or detox products, or thinking you got to go on some crazy fasting protocol. Like, just live a healthier lifestyle, and that will take care of the cleanse that you need, and that'll also take care of the weight loss as well. So, like, I don't follow any of these cleanse or detox programs or anything like that. A lot of it is just kind of like a marketing hype. I mean, just live a healthier lifestyle and eat natural, unprocessed foods and minimize the processed stuff. And of course, like I mentioned, minimize the alcohol consumption is a big one. Minimizing soda pop and drinking more water, like all these little things, right? Minimizing junk food and eating more natural and whole foods, like all this kind of stuff is what's going to quote unquote cleanse or detox your body. And it's also going to aid with your fat loss. We have Space Battleship Alex joining in. Welcome to the chat. AJ's got a question. What would you say is the best vegetable to eat overall when building muscle? For me, I think it's spinach or broccoli, as I believe they go with a lot of other food groups. Vegetables for building muscle. Okay. Indirectly, vegetables are not going to quote unquote build muscle, but they will aid with the process. And how it's going to do this in multiple ways, actually. But one is it's going to help to provide nutrients that your body needs, fiber, enzymes, all that good stuff. It's going to help to alkalize your body. And the thing about vegetables is they help to balance out that acid alkaline in the system, because protein by nature is very acidic. So when you consume protein, like eggs, fish, chicken, meat, dairy, whatever, it's acidic. Vegetables are very alkaline. So when you consume protein and veggies, you help to balance out that acid alkaline ratio. So it aids with digestion, and it helps to just promote better gut health. And you'll find that people who eat more vegetables, they tend to have better digestion, better gut health, and it just helps the whole process along in that sense. So it's not a direct muscle building benefit, but it's an indirect muscle building benefit, because it helps to improve your overall gut health and health and fitness in general. As far as the best one, there is no best one. It's like people saying, what's the best source of protein? What's the best this one? A well-rounded approach. Like, I consume a lot of different vegetables. I mean, I don't have one go-to. I like to have a wide variety. Same with protein. I don't consume just one source of protein. I have a wide variety of protein. So the best vegetables are, first off, the ones that you enjoy the most. Right? I mean, spinach and broccoli are two fantastic ones, but you can have a lot of other ones. Right? Think of the rainbow. Try and have as many different vegetables, as many different colors as possible, because each one is going to have its own unique nutritional profile and its own unique benefits, and they all have advantages. So try to have a wide variety and mix it up. Right? I mean, like, one thing I do a lot of is, like, I have salads with a bunch of different mixed vegetables. I like to have some meat and vegetable stir fries and have different types of veggies. So there is no one best one. Think of a wide spectrum and experiment with new ones. Like, when you're at the grocery store and going through the produce section, like, try out different vegetables. Like, get online and start searching for different recipes. One thing that I find has been very helpful and expands your palate and your recipe repertoire, if you will. Search for a lot of different vegan or vegetarian recipes. Now, I'm not a vegan or vegetarian, but I did follow that approach for a while because I was trying it out. And in the process, I experimented with a lot of different recipes that I normally wouldn't have otherwise done. And I found that I got a lot of value from reading up on different vegan and vegetarian recipes, because obviously they're all plant-based, and you'll be amazed at the variety of food that you can consume through different vegetables. And it was amazing. That's why I learned a lot from that, because when people follow their set eating plan, they tend to get stuck in a rut, eat the same foods over and over and over again. And even though we like to think that we're having a lot of variety, like, if you actually wrote it down and tracked it, most people eat the same stuff over and over and over again. Like, maybe there's 15 or 20 foods that you just continuously eat over and over. Whereas when you expand your repertoire of foods and try out different vegetables, it can really add a lot of variety, as well as a lot of health benefits as well. So that's what I would recommend. I mean, there is no one best one, but the more the better. That's the answer right there. All right. Khalid's saying I'm leaner, I've got ab definition, and I need to get bigger, but not losing my abs. How? Um, the key with getting bigger and not getting fatter, you still follow the same approach as you did to get lean. You just slightly increase your calorie consumption so that you're not in a deficit and you're basically at a maintenance or a very slight surplus. But the same core habits still apply. So you're still going to eat the same types of foods. You're still going to do regular cardio. Like you're still going to train as if you're trying to lose fat, but you just increase the portion sizes, especially the portions of carbohydrates and probably a little bit more protein as well, in order to bump up your calories so that you're in a slight surplus or even maintenance. And in fact, if you're tracking your calories and macros, a lot of times I recommend people to strive for maintenance, because more often than not, people underestimate how much food they consume, right? They miscalculate portions and all this stuff, or they don't track everything totally accurate. So if you strive for maintenance, chances are that'll actually put you into a slight surplus, and that'll be enough. And the thing you need to focus on is simply eating enough to fuel your training. As long as you're able to recover fine, you feel strong, and you don't feel hungry or depleted or deprived, and you're able to recover from your training, that's enough. Like you just need to eat enough, but no more. Like don't try and force feed yourself. That's the biggest mistake a lot of people make when they're trying to quote unquote bulk up, is they consume excess calories. Like let's just assume your maintenance is 3,000, and then say, oh, I'm going to start slamming back an extra 500 or 1,000 calories a day and bulk up. And they force feed themselves and they purposely overeat. Well, in that initial phase, maybe for a couple weeks or so, you'll probably make really good progress because you're topping up your glycogen stores and everything else. But once you topped up your glycogen stores, then the rest is going to spill over into body fat. And it's not going to take long for that to happen. And then you end up starting to gain more fat than muscle. And then it's just a downward spiral. I mean, yeah, you get bigger and you get hooked on the weight going up on the scale and all that kind of stuff, but it's not quality weight. It's just sloppy fat from that point on. So you don't want to purposely try and bulk up. You simply want to be in maintenance or very slight surplus. And when I say slight, like even 1 to 200 calorie a day surplus is more than enough. You just need to not be in a deficit so that you can actually utilize that food you're eating for muscle growth versus fat loss, right? That's it. But that's the key. Is it's just a very fine line, and it's not this extreme like bulk cut. It's a very fine line for both. Like when you're trying to lose fat, you don't want a massive calorie deficit, and when you're trying to gain muscle, you don't want a massive calorie surplus. You want to be close to maintenance all the time and just manipulate it ever so slightly depending on what it is that you're trying to achieve. All right, moving on. Alex is saying, what are your thoughts about Mike Mentzer's heavy-duty routine, his one set to failure philosophy? It works. I mean, I have utilized it in the past, and it certainly does work. And a lot of, top-level bodybuilders have utilized that type of training. I guess one of the most famous was former Mr. Olympia Dorian Yates. That was how he kind of modeled his training back in the day. Now, he didn't follow it exactly like Mike Mentzer did, but he kind of made it his own. But his philosophy, again, was this one all-out set for each exercise. And there's pros and cons to it. I mean, yes, it does work from stimulating the muscle, but the risk of injury is high because you're training heavy and you're trying to get as much as you can out of that one set. And very often you can push beyond your limits and get hurt. And the one thing that's going to slow your progress more than anything is an injury. Like if you did your set short of failure, like that's not going to slow your progress down, right? I mean, like if you went in the gym and you did an easy workout, that's not going to hinder your progress because you can always go back the next day and do a harder workout, right? You can go back and train harder the next day. If you even skipped a workout, like in the greater scheme of things, that's not going to set you back because you can go back to the gym and train the following day. Right? So, I mean, a skipped workout's not a big deal. If you cheated on your diet, that's in the greater scheme of things, that's not a big deal because you can always clean up your diet for your next meal or the next day and continue on. But if you get injured, right? You go in there and you're maxing out on the bench press, and all of a sudden, no shit, you tore a pec, or you're maxing out on the deadlift and you herniate a disc, or you blow your knees out on a heavy squat or something like that. You're not going back to the gym the next day. Like, the only thing that can really slow your progress or put a screeching halt to your progress is an injury. So I'm a huge advocate of injury prevention. And that's why I'm not a big fan of this one set to failure type of training. I would much rather go in there and do 2 or 3 sets, not as extreme, but 2 to 3 sets, and then get my muscle stimulation that way, where I'm stopping maybe a rep or 2 shy of failure, but I'm getting more total volume, still getting good quality muscle, time under tension and muscle stimulation, but doing so in a much safer fashion. And that's how I go about my workouts now. So I don't do 1 set to failure. I'll go in there and I'll do 2 to 3 heavy sets. And my definition of failure is the point at which you can't do another repetition with good form. It's not the point at which you can't move the weight at all. So once your form starts to break down, that's failure. That's when I stop my set. It's not the point at which I can't move the weight at all. So prime example, like with a bicep curl, when you can't do a strict curl, that's failure, right? Now, I mean, in the case of a bicep curl, if you do a little swing cheat curl, it's not a big deal for most of the time because it's a small exercise. The weights are relatively light, and most people can get away with a couple cheat curls at the end of a set. But if you're looking at bigger, heavier compound exercises and things that are more injury prone, heavy bench presses, heavy squats, heavy deadlifts, when you get to the point where your form starts to break down with those, if you try to train beyond failure, your risk of injury goes through the roof, and the risk to reward may not be in your favor. Because again, if you get injured, that's going to set you back. So I'm not a huge fan of that, and I'm a much bigger fan of being a little bit more conservative and thinking of the long term, right? Like, I would rather make slower, steady gains over the long term than potentially faster gains in the short term, but then risk an injury, which could set you back. And once you get injured, I mean, it could take weeks, it could take months, to recover from it. I mean, sometimes it could take a year or more. In some cases, you may never fully recover. So injury prevention is huge. And most people who train that super hardcore, high intensity fashion have had the injuries to show for it. I mean, Dorian Yates is a prime example. He's been through the meat grinder. He's had multiple torn muscles, and he's had his share of injuries, and a lot of other people who've trained that way have had their share of injuries as well. So if you can remain injury free, I think that's the best way to go. All right. Current news. Right. In today's news, we have Monday, chest and triceps, 20 minutes of cardio. Tuesday, back and biceps plus cardio. Wednesday, legs and abs. Thursday, shoulders and side oblique plus cardio. From Friday, repeat. Sunday off. Please advise. If it works, keep doing it. Myself and Jeff actually addressed this in last week's video chat, talking about different workout splits. And I actually broke that up into a separate video that I'm going to post. I don't think, let me just double check here now. I don't think I've posted it yet. I think I have it. Let me just double check here for a second, guys. Trying to... yeah, so I had, yeah, okay. It's coming soon, but if go back to last week's live Q&A, and in that we actually addressed this exact same question. So I'm not going to rehash the same question. And what I'm actually going to do is break that specific question about workout splits into a separate Q&A as well. So I'll be posting that over the weekend. But bottom line, if it's working for you, you're enjoying it, it works for your schedule, keep doing it. If it doesn't work for you, you don't enjoy it, it don't fit with your schedule, then modify it. Like, it's not the split, right? It's not, hey, Monday's chest and triceps, Tuesday's back and biceps, Wednesday's legs and abs. Like, the order that you work your body parts is not the main thing. It's the overall consistency. It's what you're doing during those workouts. It's training with progressive overload. It's getting adequate nutrition. It's the bigger overall picture. Like, you could do a body part split. You could do an upper lower split. You could do a total body routine. You could do push pull legs. Like, there's all kinds of splits. I mean, you could talk to 10 different bodybuilders and you'll get 10 different workout routines, and they all work. It's how you apply those workouts. the effort, the consistency, and all the other stuff. It's not the split, right? It's almost like if we were looking at someone saying, well, what's the best way to make money? And then someone says, well, I invest in real estate. And someone else says, well, I invest in the stock market. Someone else, I have my own business. And like, they all work, right? It's not that one's right, wrong, good, or bad. It's what's ideal for you at this time, your situation, and what do you prefer, right? Like, it's not right, wrong, good, or bad. It's what works for you and what do you enjoy. So if you enjoy what you're doing, Mr. Current News, keep up with the current news. Keep doing it. If you don't enjoy it, then change it. And if it's not working for you, change it. But right, it's not the split. That's what I'm getting at. Let's see what else we got there. Thomas, how long does a 5x3 full body program work? I want to get big and strong. 5x3 full body workout. How long? I mean, it can work a long time. I've been doing total body workouts basically 3 days a week for the last 4 years or more. I mean, that's kind of since I started my whole muscle after 40 get back in shape journey. That's what I've been prioritizing is total body workouts. And I find that that's what works best for my schedule. It's what I enjoy. And I've been doing it for literally years. Now, I will change up the exercises. I'll sometimes change up the set and rep pattern and all that. So I'm not always doing the same thing day in, day out. I mean, I'll change it up, but it's always the same structure. I like to do full body workouts, and I usually train 3 days a week, every other day. And then on my off days from weight training, I do cardio. So I refer to that as my yin and yang training system, right? Weight training one day, cardio the next. And that works well. And I've been doing that for years, and I enjoy it. So, I mean, you can make a program. I mean, how long does it work? It can work indefinitely, because within that structure, you can manipulate all kinds of variables to keep it fresh and keep unique muscle stimulation happening. Like you can change up the exercises. I mean, you can change up the tempo, right? The set and rep pattern, all kinds of stuff. Like you can continue making progress. But if you enjoy full body, by all means, keep doing it. All right, what else we got there? We have Brian joining in. I need help. Seriously need help gaining weight. Please give me some tips. I'm 160 pounds, benching 300, but I want 315 bad. All right, first off, if you're 160 pounds and you're benching 300, that is very darn respectable. Like that is so close to a double body weight bench press, which is like elite level by most people's standards. Like that's big. Right? That's big strength. That's big numbers. I mean, kudos to you for that. As far as well, like what is it? I need help gaining weight. Please give me some tips. You want to increase your bench. Obviously, gaining more weight will help to increase your bench press, right? I mean, like on average, this is kind of like a powerlifting rule of thumb. For every 5 pounds of body weight you gain, you'll probably gain about 10 pounds of strength on your bench press. Now, that's a generalization rule of thumb. It's not always going to be 100% accurate, but it's kind of like a guideline to shoot for. Like the bigger you get, assuming it's lean muscular body weight, the stronger you're going to be as well. Like a bigger muscle is a stronger muscle and vice versa. So as you gain more size, you'll also increase your strength. But you want to be careful there, because if you're 160 pounds and you're currently benching 300, like I would assume you're quite lean and muscular at that stage, at that weight. And you want to maintain that lean muscular and make slow, steady gains, and not just simply start slamming back pizza and ice cream to try and bump up the calories and gain weight. Because yeah, sure, you go on the pizza and ice cream diet, you can gain weight, but it's not quality weight, right? And it would backfire in the long run. And before long, you'll be gaining more fat than muscle, and you won't be happy with the result. So go back, like I was mentioning earlier, just a couple questions above, like you just want to be in a slight surplus, a very slight surplus, so that you're not in a deficit. You're able to fuel and recover from your workouts and feel strong during your workouts, and then let your body grow, not force it to grow. That's a key thing here is you need to think long term. Like this is a marathon. It's not a sprint, right? This is something you want to be doing for the rest of your life. Like you want to be one of those old men in the gym who's like in their 70s or 80s, and you're still working out and you're still jacked. Like, you don't want to be, 40 years old or 50 years old and laid up with injuries and not working out anymore. Like, you don't want to be that guy. I would rather be like, think of this as a long-term lifestyle. So you're slowly making progress right on through. This is a lifestyle, not just some short-term sprint thing. And the slow, steady approach is the best way to go for that. I mean, obviously you want to increase your strength, but with consistency, that's going to happen, right? I mean, if you've gotten to the point where you're benching 300 now, I mean, the 315 is not that far around the corner. And as long as you don't get injured and have the setbacks from that, you will eventually get there. And it'll just be a matter of time. If you want some specific tips on that, feel free to reach out to me. Like, send me an email and we can chat about it, because there's so many different strategies you can use to increase your strength. And it really, in order to give you more tips and suggestions, I kind of need to know more about what it is you're currently doing. Like, what kind of programs have you followed in the past? What are you currently doing now? And then give you some suggestions on how you can take that to the next level. So if you want help with that, Brian, reach out to me. And you're messaging me through, or you're watching this through Facebook. So message me through Facebook. Easiest way to get in touch with me, right? Just send me a message. And you can actually friend request me directly if you want as well. Like, I know I'm streaming this through the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook page, but you can actually friend request me at Lee Hayward. Just facebook.com/Lee.Hayward. And we can chat through there as well. Raphael, is there a specific diet to keep it high or products to avoid to keep the testosterone level at a proper level? Not really. I mean, obviously, a healthy diet versus a junk food diet, but assuming you have the basics covered, like you're eating protein, you're eating vegetables, you're eating natural unprocessed foods, you're avoiding alcohol consumption, all that kind of stuff. You're doing all the dietary things that you need to do to maximize hormone levels. And then it's, if you still have low testosterone after all that, then you really need to look into alternative therapy options like hormone replacement therapy or testosterone replacement therapy. And I actually did a video about that. I believe it was earlier this year. I did one. If you just do a search for Lee Hayward TRT, or you'll find that video on my YouTube channel. But the big ones is to avoid the processed foods, avoid the alcohol, because those can have negative impacts on hormones as well as testosterone. Like, alcohol can elevate estrogen and lower testosterone. Eating adequate vegetables. Like, I know someone was asking earlier about vegetables. That's one of the benefits of vegetables, is they naturally help to minimize excess estrogen in the system, which can then in turn help to maximize testosterone. Other things that can help, making sure that you're getting adequate omega-3s and essential fatty acids. Right? Healthy fats can help to maximize testosterone. Keeping your protein intake high. I mean, that's all the basics, all this, all the stuff that we should be doing anyway. That's stuff that's going to help with optimal testosterone levels. Of course, adequate training, like weight training in the gym, getting adequate sleep. That's another big one. I mean, anytime you're sleep deprived, that's going to hinder growth hormones, going to hinder testosterone production and all that. So it's just living a healthy lifestyle in general. That's what you want to focus on. And once you have that, then you're doing all the natural things that you can do. And then if you need more help beyond that, then you really need to look into medical testosterone replacement therapy or hormone replacement therapy. As far as supplementation, it's kind of hit or miss. Like, I mean, you could try some of the different testosterone boosting supplements out there, but a lot of them are just more or less marketing hype, and they sell a ton of sizzle for every ounce of steak. It's minuscule benefits at best. Whereas if you truly have low testosterone and you're in that age range where you're like in your 40s or 50s or beyond, it ain't getting higher on its own naturally. So, I mean, for older people, who are in middle age and beyond, if you have low testosterone levels, then it's best to look into hormone replacement therapy options, either through your family doctor or through a hormone replacement therapy clinic. And again, I made a video that goes into more detail about that. Ange, I guess that's how I pronounce it. Angie, when I cut next year, I would like to see them, hopefully. Did I miss the first part of this question or what? Let me just go back, because that looks like it's a second part of a question. That's what it looks like to me. I want to just make sure that I'm not missing something here. And when I cut next year, I would like to see them, hopefully. Nope, that's the only one I got here. See your abs? I don't know. If you want to elaborate on your question, Ange, feel free to do so. But for now, that looks like it's half a question. So I'm going to move on. Orville found it. Good for you, Orville. Glad you found it. He was one who messaged earlier, said he found it on YouTube, didn't find it on Facebook. But again, it's the same chat either way. So watch it from one platform or the other. And Bradley has been following you for 10 years. That's awesome. I appreciate the support. Yeah. 10 years. I mean, like 10 years seems like a long time, especially in internet time. Like that's forever in internet time. But like to me, that doesn't seem that long ago. Like it really doesn't. Right. I mean, it's just amazing how fast time flies. And you always hear people say this, but like the older you get, the faster time goes. And it's like a blink of an eye. Like 10 years doesn't seem that long ago to me, but it's obviously it is. Right. I mean, a lot happens in 10 years. I mean, heck, I've got a 6-year-old son, and to see how fast he's growing up. I mean, 10 years ago, he wasn't around, right? We weren't even thinking about him 10 years ago. So it's just crazy to see how fast things go. But again, appreciate the support, Bradley. Much, glad you're sticking around. Obviously, you're getting some value from it, or else you wouldn't be following the stuff. Boris is joining in. Says, glad to see you, Lee. Follow you since the beginning, and you look the same. Well, I don't know if I look the same. I don't know if you can tell on the video there, but there's salt and pepper in the hair there, right? There's some grays sprinkled in there. So I don't quite look the same, but I appreciate the comment, right? My son asked me the other day, he said, Dad, what color is your hair? And I said, it's salt and pepper, right? Actually, it kind of looks darker on camera than it does in person, but yeah, I can see the gray there. Oh, yeah. Look, when I lean down, you can see the speckles, right? You can see the salt and the pepper. But I appreciate it. Thanks for the support, and glad that you're enjoying the videos. Khalid saying, can you train 2 exercises together, flat bench and decline press? Can you combine these 2 exercises together in chest day? Yes, you can, but they're both similar movement patterns. All right. So you're the guy who asked the question earlier about training chest twice a week. So this is what I would suggest in your situation. If you're training chest twice a week, I would separate those 2 bench press variations. So do a flat bench on one day and a decline bench on another day, or an incline bench, however you want to do it. Like change it up. Don't go doing all multiple pressing exercises together. Change up the exercise variations and split it up. So to maximize muscle growth, especially in the chest, this is how I would utilize the positions of flexion style of training. And I have playlists on YouTube outlining this. If you want to go, just open up the playlist tab on the main Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel, and you'll see a playlist called Positions of Flexion. But bottom line, how positions of flexion works is it's a style of training where you work the muscles through a full range of motion. So mid-range, fully stretched, peak contraction. So in the case of chest, a bench press, any variation, flat, incline, decline, dumbbell, barbell, machine press, whatever, it's all a mid-range exercise, a mid-range compound exercise. So you don't get a really deep stretch in the bottom, and you can lock it out at the top. So all the tension is in the mid-range, and you can handle heavy weight. So it's a mid-range compound exercise. An example of a fully stretched exercise would be like a dumbbell fly, where you stretch out your arms in the bottom, you get a good stretch throughout the chest, but you can actually lock it out at the top. So all the tension, or the majority of the tension, is in the bottom fully stretched position. And then a peak contraction would be like a cable crossover fly or a pec deck fly, where you have to fight to hold the handles together at the top, right? Like the majority of the tension's at the top of the movement and that peak contraction. And that's where you have to fight to hold the handles. This is the ideal way to train to maximize muscle hypertrophy in your major muscle groups. So if you're looking for an ideal chest workout, you want to do some sort of chest press, bench press, you want to do some sort of dumbbell fly, and then some sort of cable or pec deck fly to hit the mid-range fully stretched peak contraction. And if you want to do that twice a week, I would do that, but change up the variations. So for example, one week you could, or one workout, you could do it on the flat bench. The next workout, you could do it on the incline, or change it up, right? Like, or one workout, you could use free weights, and the other ones you could use machines. Like there's different ways to going about it, but that's how I would go about maximizing hypertrophy in the chest. I would do positions of flexion twice a week, and I would change up the exercises for each workout. And you could even change up the set and rep pattern as well. So one workout be heavier, lower reps, and the other one be lighter and higher reps. But again, watch that positions of flexion playlist video, right? That's what I would recommend. That'll give you a good overview of how that works. We have Gino joining in. Gino's went through the Muscle After 40 blueprint, and he says, when it comes to cardio, intensity, or duration, which one is more important? Both are important, but I would there's one that I would add in there that I think is the most important, and that is consistency, right? Regardless of how intense or regardless of the duration, the most important thing is the consistency, the fact that you freaking do it and make a habit of it. Like, consistency is the most important thing. Consistency over intensity, consistency over duration. Consistency is the most important. But with that being said, once you are consistent and you're doing daily cardio, then you can manipulate the intensity and the duration based on your schedule and based on how you're feeling. So, prime example, if you're feeling full of piss and vinegar, you got energy to burn, right? You're feeling good, you can go for a higher intensity workout, or you can do a longer workout. Right? You can push yourself harder on the days you're feeling up to it and you have more energy. On the days where you're kind of dragging your heels and you're like, man, I'm tired, I don't really want to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. That's when you can focus on the low intensity, steady state cardio. And you're just kind of going through the motions and not pushing yourself. And from a practical real world scenario, you would actually be better off doing the majority of your cardio in that lower intensity, steady state, longer duration, and then save the high intensity for more sparingly. Like a lot of times, if you're looking at cardio specific training, they refer to this as polarized training, whereas the majority of your cardio training, it's base building. It's lower intensity, longer duration, building the base. It's like, think of a pyramid. Like if we got a pyramid, you want to build the base, big base, and then the peak is the intensity. So you want more base, low intensity, long duration stuff, and then less of the high intensity. But you still want to have that high intensity in there. And then what you'll find is the bigger you build the base, the higher the peak will be able to go. And this is how I actually train when I'm doing my cycling. Like that, over the last few years, I've really gotten into cycling. Over the past year, really gotten serious into cycling. I even competed in some cycling races and stuff. And this is one of the principles that I incorporate with my cycling workouts. It's called polarized training. And the majority of the workouts are lower intensity, longer duration, base building. And then I sprinkle in some higher intensity workouts where you're pushing the limits, testing the VO2 max, going into your threshold training, that high intensity stuff, but that's done more sparingly. And the general rule of thumb for polarized training is probably like 80-20. Like 80% of the workouts to be done at lower intensity, higher volume, 20% to be done at higher intensity. Now, that's a general rule of thumb. Like if it was 70-30, that'd still work. Like it's not an exact science ratio where like, oh, it has to be 20% high intensity and 80% low intensity. Like you can kind of blend it based on how you feel and based on your schedule and everything else. But general rule of thumb, you want more of that low intensity base building and less of the high intensity where you're pushing yourself. Because that high intensity stuff, that's you're stressing your central nervous system, you're stressing your recovery abilities. Like it's harder on the body to do that high intensity stuff, but you still need it. You still need it there to push your fitness to a higher level. but you want to lay the foundation with the base as the most important thing. So hopefully that helps to answer. So as far as importance, I would put it this way. Consistency is the first priority. Then it'd be the low intensity, longer duration, and then it would be the intensity if we're going in that order. That's the way you want to focus on. Consistency first, then the majority would be the lower intensity base building, and then the least frequent would be the high intensity training where you're really pushing yourself. All right, what else we got there? I always get some crap coming in here. That's just give me a second, guys. Like, I don't know if you can see it there in the chat window. There's always some trolls or spammers. Like there's one of these things putting in the freaking dating site links in the freaking chat window. Like, F off, right? This is a fitness chat. Right? I'm not here having people spamming my chat with freaking dating sites. I mean, go piss off somewhere else. That's where it'd be nice to have, the co-host or someone else to moderate the chat window while I'm here answering questions. All right. But anyway, forgive me there. I had to go and delete or block that a-hole from posting on the chat. All right. Where was I? That was Gino's question. Who else we got there? We have Sean joining in. Hello, Sean. How are you doing? We got Brian. We already answered Brian's question. I think that was a duplicate. What about consuming a can of energy drink every day? Energy drinks. So most energy drinks, you're thinking like a Rockstar or a Monster or a Red Bull. First off, get the sugar-free if you're going to get an energy drink. Don't get the sugary ones. I mean, unless that opens up another can of worms, because there is a time and a place when you need to consume sugar, right? Especially if you're doing high intensity training. Sometimes you do need a shot of sugar, but generally speaking, most people would be better off minimizing sugar. Right? That would be a general rule of thumb. Like, there are exceptions, like especially in long distance endurance training, when people like deplete their glycogen stores, where they actually need to consume simple sugars to prevent themselves from bonking and stuff like that. But that's another can of worms. For the majority of people, minimize your sugar consumption. So if you are going to consume energy drinks or any type of drink like that, go for a sugar-free option if possible. And a can a day. I sometimes have energy drinks. In fact, I actually had one earlier today. And the way I consume energy drinks or caffeine is when I need it. And I try to consume it in moderation. And the thing you want to look at is your overall caffeine consumption. So if you're drinking coffee and tea and soda and all these other things that are sources of caffeine, then you want to be sparing when it comes to energy drinks. So like, if I had an energy drink, I would probably want to scale back on my coffee consumption. Or if I had coffee, then I wouldn't really need an energy drink. Like, you want to look at your total caffeine consumption and find what's tolerable for you, and try and consume it when you need it. That's my how I go about it. So, like, for example, if before I work out, I like to have some sort of caffeine, whether it's a cup of coffee. Sometimes it's an energy drink. Sometimes it's a pre-workout, but more often than not, it's just a simple cup of coffee, for two reasons. One, I enjoy coffee. I like the taste of the bean, and I find that it's just enough caffeine to give me a bit of a boost without overkill. Whereas sometimes energy drinks and pre-workouts can be pretty high dose, because there's a lot of other stuff and there's high levels of caffeine. So look at how you can minimize it. And I mean, you can certainly make it work. Right? I do enjoy energy drink from time to time, but again, just make sure that you're keeping the total caffeine consumption under control. And I usually have, I'm just kind of thinking, like, somewhere probably 3 to 500 milligrams of caffeine a day for me. And 500 would be the extreme. That's when I'm pushing those high intensity workouts or something like that. But on a typical day, I'm probably having about 300 milligrams of caffeine. And I'm saying, like, a cup of coffee is anywhere between 150 milligrams of caffeine, depending on the size. And I usually have like a couple of cups of coffee a day, or maybe a cup of coffee and an energy drink a day, something like that. At the odd day, I might have three coffees or a couple coffees and an energy drink. But like, that's kind of like my upper limit for sure. I try not to go beyond that because I find that it's it hits a threshold where eventually like you just need that caffeine to just function at maintenance and it can cause a lot of stress on your body, the jitters, stress in the adrenal glands and stuff like that. I remember a friend of mine a while back, like he really got addicted to energy drinks and pre-workouts and coffee and everything else, and he was consuming 2,000 milligrams of caffeine a day. That's a lot. Like that's like 20 cups of coffee a day. Like that's kind of the level. Now in his case, it was a combination of everything: coffee, energy drinks, and pre-workout. But like he was at that level, and it was to the point where that wasn't even providing an energy boost. That was like what he needed to just function. So he had to go on like a serious caffeine and detox and kind of reset his system, which caused a lot of havoc because I mean you go through withdrawal symptoms and everything else. But if it's done in moderation, I think you can utilize it relatively safely, right? So again, it's nothing is 100% safe, but use your own judgment on that. And my personal opinion, I mean, I do consume caffeine and on a regular basis, but I do so in moderation, and I find that I tolerate it well. And I found my personal threshold, which allows me to function at my best without the drawbacks. Because I have gone through phases where I've had higher levels of caffeine, especially back in the day when I used to compete in bodybuilding. I would sometimes rely on it as a crutch to help curb my appetite and to boost my energy levels when I was in a calorie deficit. And I can remember going through phases where I would consuming for a while there. I was actually up to around 1,000 milligrams of caffeine. This was back in my competitive heyday throughout the mid 2000s and stuff. And yes, it kind of worked in the short term, but it wasn't healthy in the long term, right? So I mean, like, because caffeine is like a double-edged sword. I mean, yes, it does temporarily increase your energy levels, it temporarily curbs your appetite and all that. So like I was using it as a diet crutch, but overall, man, it was just burning me out and adrenal fatigue and jitters and all that. Like you're kind of like it's not a good way to be when you're relying on caffeine that much. So you want to find your personal tolerance. And I found mine is in that like 300 milligrams a day is usually like my sweet spot. If I go beyond above that, I mean, 500 would be my max. Like that would be a high octane day for me, right? But I know some people like that will be a low day for a lot of people, right? So it really depends on you and your individual tolerance. John is saying, why do some muscles lag and some don't? Mostly genetics. A lot of times it's genetics. I mean, sometimes it could be the way that you train, because like assuming that I'll give you an example. Like a lot of guys, when they start off at the gym, they just focus on the show off muscles. They say, hey, I want chest, I want biceps, I want abs. And they don't think about the back, they don't think about the legs. And so they go through their first couple of years of training, focusing on chest, biceps, and abs. And then all of a sudden they realize, oh, my rear delts and back sucks. My legs suck. I got chicken legs. And, they develop imbalances just through neglect. But even if you trained everything equally in balance and proportion, you would find some muscle groups just respond better to others. And a lot of it has to do with just genetics. Is like you may have more muscle fibers or more muscle cells in certain areas than others, and certain body parts just respond better. And in my case, like legs respond well for me. My chest responds well. My back responds well. My arms and shoulders, they lag behind. And I just genetically don't have as much muscle in my shoulders and arms as I do in my legs. Like my calves are bigger than my arms, whereas most people, it's the opposite. Their arms are bigger than their calves. And that's just the way it is. Like I've always had big calves right from before I even started training. Like my mother's got big calves, so I inherited them from her, and she doesn't do any weight training. So a lot of it has just simply genetics, right? Like assuming you are training everything in balance and proportion, that's the main reason. And then you just have to manipulate your workouts accordingly to maximize muscle stimulation in those lagging areas while putting the stronger areas on a maintenance mode. And sometimes a maintenance mode could literally be not training that body part. Like I rarely train calves, and I still got huge calves. Like they're not going away. Like they're there. Now I indirectly train them through cardio and stuff like that, but I don't, like, you're not going to see me repping out on the calf raise machine on a regular basis. Like I may train calves once or twice a month, and it's not like that's like 3 sets of calf raises. Like I don't spend much time training calves, and I don't need to, right? Because they're big enough as they are, and they don't go anywhere. Like I just got big calves. Whereas arms, I got to train those suckers on a regular basis, right? Because they just genetically, they just don't respond as well for me. So you'll find everybody's going to have their own individual strengths and weaknesses, and you just have to adjust your workouts accordingly. I think we already answered that question about cleansing. Might have been a duplicate question. It's Adrian. Haley, I'm 17. I'm on a tight budget. I do home workouts and calisthenics, no access to the gym. I eat whatever my grandma cooks. Is it all right to continue this until I get a budget for the gym? Yes. Something's better than nothing. Like, and a lot of people are going to go through this type of situation. I went through a similar situation when I was just getting started. I was working out at home with minimal equipment and eating whatever mom and dad put on the table. Like, I didn't have my own budget to go grocery shopping or anything like that, and my supplements was non-existent, so I just ate whatever I could. I mean, try to make the best food choices of what you have available, but just do the best you can in your current situation, and you can still make progress. Like, something's better than nothing. It doesn't have to be this all or nothing approach. Like, a lot of people have this mentality where, oh, if I can't follow the perfect workout and the perfect diet and have everything perfect and have all the supplements and blah, 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 then what's the point of doing anything at all? Screw it. I'm not going to do anything because it's not perfect. Well, something's better than nothing. So the fact that you're doing workouts and body weight exercises and you're trying to eat as healthy as you can based on what your grandma cooks, you can still make progress. Like, you can still make progress. And the cool thing is you've got youth on your side, right? You're 17 years old. Your body's primed for growth. Like, everybody who goes through their teenage years, regardless if they eat healthy or not, regardless if they work out or not, they get bigger and stronger. Like, you take someone from the age of 13 to the age of 19, unless they have some sort of sickness or genetic disorder, everyone's getting bigger and stronger throughout their teenage years. Everybody is. Like, if you were to measure how big and strong you are at 13 versus how big and strong you are at 19, everybody gets bigger and stronger as they go through puberty in their teenage years. If you combine that with weight training and exercise, you're just going to amplify those results even more. If you can combine that with better nutrition, you're going to amplify the results even more. So do the best you can and maximize your teenage years, this whole phase you're going through, and you can still make great progress. And then, of course, when you do get out and you're starting to earn your own money and you want to invest in better nutrition or supplementation or whatever, that'll help, but it's not going to make a huge difference. Now, the nutrition can. Don't get me wrong. Like, if you're maximizing protein and getting all the the calories and the nutrients you need through good solid food, that will make a noticeable difference. Supplementation, less so. Like, even if you had perfect supplementation, it's only going to give you like maybe a 5% edge over no supplementation. Like, it's like the icing on the cake. It'll help, but it's not make or break. It's not the big rocks, if you will. Now, if you look at it from a high level athlete's perspective, I mean, 5% is huge, right? Like, if at the top world class level, if somebody can get a 5% edge, like that's world class versus, just being one of the pack, right? So, I mean, 5% can mean the difference between, winning and losing, between getting that pro contract or not getting that pro contract. So, I mean, at the high level, yeah, 5% is huge. But for the average person, a 5% edge is not that big a deal. Like, you can, if you were 95% as good as you could be versus 100% as good as you could be, like, it's still pretty darn good, right? You're still way ahead of most people. So don't let that discourage you. I mean, I went through it myself when I was a teenager and living at home. Just do the best you can with what you have available. With that being said, there might be some options available. Like, look into community center gyms, because there are places out there where you could probably work out for little to no money. Prime example, if you live close to a YMCA. The YMCA is a charitable organization, and they will offer sponsored memberships and in some cases free memberships if you qualify. So if you're on a tight budget, go and you live close to a YMCA, go talk to them and just tell them your situation, because that's what they're there for. And that's where I started out. Like, I started out working as a strength and conditioning coach at the YMCA back in the late 90s, early 2000s. That's when I started there. That was the first experience of working in a gym setting, and that's what I did. And that was one of the things that the Y offered was sponsored memberships. Whether it might be a very low membership, like maybe they'll charge you $10 a month or something like that, or in some cases it might even be free. Like, it all depends on the individual. Like, they'll work out a situation based on you, your budget, and everything else. So go talk to the people at the Y if you live close to one. If not, check out community center gyms. Like, don't always think of the big box, gyms. Think of like some small places. Sometimes community center gyms allow people to go in and work out for free. So check out what you have available in your area. And another thing you could even do as well, if you live close to a gym, especially if it's a mom and pop gym, like not a big box, LA Fitness, Planet Fitness, corporate gym. If it's a mom and pop gym, go in there and say, you know what? Hey, I would like to work out here. Can I work for a gym membership? Like, hey man, I'll mop the floors. I'll clean the toilets. I'll whatever. I'll shovel the parking lot in the wintertime. Like, offer your work in exchange for a gym membership. And a lot of places will do that, right? Especially, mom and pop gyms, right? Locally owned, privately owned gyms. The big box gyms may or may not do it because of their rules and regulations and everything else. But a lot of the smaller gyms would allow you to do something like that. So maybe you go in there a few times a week with a mop and bucket and clean up, and you get a free membership out of it, right? I mean, that could be a win-win situation for you. So you get access to a great gym and you help them out. And so it's a win-win. So, like, think outside the box, right? There's options out there, right? Like, it's not always, oh, I'm on a tight budget, I can't go to the gym. Like, think outside the box. There's always ways to make something work if you find a way, right? Make a way or find a way. There's a way to make it work. All right, moving on. We have Craig joining in. Time under tension versus fast reps. Do both or one over the other? Both have their place. Time under tension is generally better for more of a hypertrophy type of response. Fast explosive reps are better for more explosive strength training or athletic performance. And certain exercises tend to work better for fast explosive reps, and certain exercises tend to work better for time under tension. So it depends on the situation. I'll give you some examples. Time under tension tends to work better for more isolation exercises, things that you're trying to pump up and feel the muscles work and burn. Fast explosive reps can work better for more performance orientated exercises. So, for example, if you're doing any plyometric type exercises or athletic performance moves, obviously you got to be fast and explosive. Think of a boxer hitting a heavy bag. Like, he's not going to slow and controlled throw that punch. No, it's boom, right? It's got to be fast and explosive. Think of someone, an athlete who's doing box jumps or running sprints. Like, nobody slow and control run a sprint. Like, it doesn't work. So there's certain movements and certain exercises where you got to be fast and explosive. Even powerlifters, like, and for example, like, they'll do a lot of common training now includes dynamic effort work where you're using submaximal weights and you're trying to be as fast and explosive, especially like with bench presses and squats and things like that. You're trying to be fast and powerful with the weights and not just always slow and control. But from a bodybuilding point of view, time under tension and that slower controlled allows you to feel the muscle contraction, get more blood pump into the muscle. And again, it's not right or wrong. It just depends. All right. So both are effective. It just depends on the situation and the exercise. And he said, I've been doing your arm circle warm up. Very nice. Good stuff. Yeah. I always do like a variation of that warm up routine. And for those of you watching, wondering what the heck there's more than arm circles, but do a search for Lee Hayward warm-up routine, and I've got a couple of videos, but there's one in particular. It's like a total body warm-up that you can do whether you're at the gym or even at home before you leave for the gym. It's just kind of like a total body warm-up routine. Doesn't even require any equipment, just things that you can do with your body weight to limber up all your major muscle groups, joints, tendons, and ligaments. Do you have a program to help people? Yes. Email me. I mean, first off, if you haven't already done so, like, subscribe to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel and check out all the videos and playlists. Like, there's workout videos there for all your major muscle groups. There's a lot of workout programs on the channel. But if you want some help, head on over to my main website, leehayward.com, and there's programs available for download there. Like, one, you could download the Total Fitness Bodybuilding app, which is available for Apple as well as Android devices, and that covers workout programs. There's a whole bunch of programs within the app itself, and you can also download different programs. There's a nutrition guide, there's workout guides, there's a whole bunch of different training manuals available for free download over on my website, leehayward.com. If you're on your desktop computer, it'll be on the side menu bar. If you're on a mobile device, you have to scroll to the bottom of the page, and you can access all those free PDFs. All right, Khalid's saying, how about this? Monday, chest and biceps, Tuesday, back and shoulders and triceps, Wednesday, rest, Thursday, legs, Friday, chest and biceps, Saturday, back, shoulders, triceps. The only problem with that is it's a lot of days a week. We're basically 6 days a week. And you may or may not be able to handle that. Like, that's a lot. I mean, there was a time when I used to train 6 days a week and I found it okay. But from a practical point of view, I actually made some of my best gains training 4 days a week or every other day, right? 3 to 4 days a week. So, like, sometimes I would do like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays off, Thursday, Friday, weekends off. Other times it was just every other day. These days I typically go every other day. You need to factor in rest and recovery days in there as well, especially if your goal is to gain muscle, right? If you're just trying to burn fat and calories, sometimes 6 days a week is advantageous because you're exercising more, you're burning more calories, you're creating a bigger calorie deficit. So it's advantageous to tap into burning body fat. But if your main goal is to build muscle, 6 days a week can actually be a hindrance. And I was actually chatting to one of my coaches today about this, about workouts and stuff like that. And he used to fall into that same rut, always thinking it had to be 5-6 days a week. But when he scaled back to 4 days a week, started making better gains. And the reason for that is you approach each workout with more recovery. So you're giving your body more opportunity to rest, recover, and grow between workouts. So that's what I would recommend. I mean, obviously you want to prioritize chest, because we've been chatting back and forth with Khalid here. He's the guy who wants to hit his chest twice a week so it can prioritize it and maximize muscle stimulation in the chest, because it's a stubborn area. Certainly train the chest twice a week. You can do that. But what I would do then is all your other body parts, train that once a week. So maybe you do 2 chest dominant workouts. Now you can still train other body parts along with chest. Like if you want to pair up chest, calves, and abs or something like that, that's cool. But chest dominant twice a week. And then for your other body parts, you just kind of do like, you break it up over the course of the week. So you're doing like half your other body parts one workout, half on another workout. Like, it doesn't have to be a full on, 20 sets per body part for all your other major muscle groups. Like, it's okay to just do 1 or 2 exercises for each other muscle group and focus on a maintenance program for those stronger body parts while you're prioritizing your chest. But I would factor in more recovery. And I think you would actually make better gains if you trained fewer days. So like, try 4 days a week. Like, you're currently got a 6-day plan there. Try 4 and just give it a month. Give it a month or give it 6 weeks, somewhere along there, and just see how you feel. And I bet you'll actually feel better, because what's going to happen is, with those extra recovery days, you're going to be more rested and you're going to be able to actually train harder during the workouts. Because what happens with the 6-day per week program, yeah, you're in there and you're consistent, but you're not fully rested and recovered for each training session. So like you're going in there with the tank half empty, if you will. Like you're not fully topped up with glycogen and energy and reserves, and you're not fully 100% recovered. You're always going in there like less than fully recovered, and that can hinder the intensity and the effort you're able to generate. Whereas if you allow yourself to rest, recover, and grow between those training sessions, then you'll be able to push yourself at a higher level and actually make better gains and feel better in the process. Like a lot of times you'll sleep better, recover better, and just make better overall gains. You sound kind of Irish. Are you part Irish? I'm a Newfoundlander, and there's a lot of Irish descendants in Newfoundland. So I actually did one of those ancestry DNA tests to see what my official background is, because I really don't know. Like I go back a few generations, but like that's as far back as I go. So I don't know exactly where my true background heritage is. So I did one of those ancestry DNA tests. I only did it recently, so I haven't gotten the results yet, but it'd be interesting to know, right? But I'll keep you updated. Moving on. Is high rep body weight home workouts equal to working out in the gym? If I can't go to the gym, sometimes I'm busy all day for school, then is it okay to do a high rep workout at home? Yes, it's okay to do home workouts with body weight. That's something's better than nothing. Is it the same as working out in the gym? No. There are two different forms of stimulation. The high rep home workouts is more, we discussed this in some of the earlier questions. I mentioned the three different energy systems, the ATP, the lactic acid, and the aerobic. Higher intensity, heavier, low rep training that you would do typically in a gym situation, that's more of the ATP energy system. High rep body weight, that's more the lactic acid energy system. So you're working different energy systems, different muscle fibers. Both are advantageous. It's not, again, it's not right, wrong, good, or bad. It's just different, right? So, the high rep home workouts are more muscular endurance training. If you're doing heavier, lower rep, barbell lifts and compound exercises at the gym, that's more of the strength and power building. Both are advantageous, and you want to ideally incorporate both styles of training into your resistance training workouts. But if you're doing home workouts, then hey, by all means, maximize them, do them, make the best of them. And then when you are at the gym, maximize that, right? Like I say, you can certainly use both. Do you use bands? Yes, I incorporate resistance bands into my workouts. Not so much now. I mean, I go to the gym for most of my resistance training workouts. So I use free weights and machines and body weight for most of my workouts. But back when we were going through lockdown during the midst of the pandemic, I actually did a lot of home workouts with resistance bands. And when I travel, I always pack resistance bands with me as well. So you can certainly get in some good workouts using resistance bands. I mean, it's not as optimal as training in a fully equipped gym with machines and free weights and everything else, but it's certainly better than nothing. So if you have access to bands, by all means, take advantage of them. You can still get a great workout with them. And if you want some examples of resistance band exercises, just do a search for Lee Hayward home workouts on the YouTube channel. I also have them posted up on the Facebook page, the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook page. If you scroll through some of the older videos, like scroll through back in 2020, 2021, that time frame when we were in the midst of lockdown, there was a phase there for a while. I was doing daily home workouts using body weight and resistance bands. So I had a whole streak of follow along videos that I was doing there for a while. I did it primarily to help my coaching students who were going through this. And so if you want, you can see some great examples of literally follow along workouts. Like you just push play and join in, work out at the same time I'm doing it. Thomas is saying, thanks for everything. You really know your stuff. Cheers from Sweden. Much appreciated, Thomas. You're welcome. Glad to help. I got 2 bands and 2-kilogram dumbbells as well. All right. Utilize them. we were just talking about bands a minute ago. Let's see what else we got there. Someone that freaking spam is posting the adult dating site crap on there. I just had to block. I blocked one account, and then they came on with another account and started posting again. And then Sam is saying, "Where can I find the best adult dating sites?" LOL. I hate the freaking spammers. Like, gentle, geez, like and it's not just post it once. Oh no, we gotta spam the shit out of your channel. Like, we gotta post it 100 times. Oh well. For those of you watching, if you see a link to a dating site pop up in the chat, for Christ's sakes, don't click on it, right? That's not where you're going to get a date, right? You got to. I've never used the dating sites. I met my wife the old-fashioned way. I actually talked to her. I went up and I asked her to dance. That's how I met my wife, right? Before the days of social media, before the days of dating sites, the old-fashioned way. You manned up and you went up and talked to the woman. That's a lost art. The art of communication, the art of having the balls to go up and speak to somebody in person. Oh my God, what a concept. Anyway, it still works though. Give it a try. What else we got there? I'm gonna have to get ready to clue this up, guys. Holy crap, I've been doing this for an hour and 40 minutes. Man, like I said I was going to do this for an hour, and it's an hour and 40 already. I'm still going. Anyway, I got to clue this up because my wife literally is making supper for us, and I'm probably 40 minutes late for supper, and she's maybe out there like, the frig, dude, like, shut up and come out for supper. Oh my God. Anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video chat. I know there's still a bunch of questions there, and I could get lost in this, as I have been getting lost. So I'm going to clue it up because I'm running late. But what I will do is I will have the replay of this posted up along with the questions and timestamps. I will get my assistant to do that. So all the past video chats that I've done, if you go back and review them all, they all have the timestamps for the Q&A that I was answered. So if there's any specific questions or topics that you're looking for, you don't need to sit down and watch an hour plus video chat, or in this case, an hour 40 plus video chat. You can actually just open up the description, scroll through the timestamps, and pick the topics and questions that interest you the most. So if you want to do that, you can certainly do so for all the past Q&A, and I'll get that done for this one as well. And in the meantime, if you do have any questions about anything that was discussed here, or if you would like to elaborate on, any specific strategies, or you want some help with a customized fitness and nutrition program for yourself, feel free to reach out to me. You can email me at leeh@leehayward.com, or friend request me over on Facebook and chat to me there. And if we can message back and forth, and if you want, we can even hop on a Zoom call and have a strategy session and discuss an action plan that's right for you. So if you would like some help, just feel free to reach out and ask. And in the meantime, have yourself a great weekend, and I will talk to you next week. Same time, same place. Take care. Over and out.